Welcome to the College Game Day podcast, part 2 of the ACC Preview. I'm Dan Wetzel, joined by Pete Thamel, Ryan McGee. Quick reminder, please download the podcast wherever you prefer to get your podcasts, or better yet, subscribe. You don't want to miss any of these. Part 1, we talked about Miami, Notre Dame. Can they win the national title? Yes, we're claiming Notre Dame for the ACC because this is a pro ACC edition, right? And then who's coming in second? And there was a ton of teams. This is an exciting league. But not all is great everywhere. Not all is great everywhere. And I wanted to play a version of this game. You've heard of this thing like kiss, marry, kill thing. It's kind of a, we don't want to kill anybody here, but we don't want to kiss or marry anybody either in college football. But I'm trying. Reese Davis isn't here in case you noticed that we're off to a hacky start by me. Let's call it fire, and boy, you don't want to stay around here for your whole career, do you? On these coaches. Who is getting fired and who are we just hoping leaves? Because we either can't afford to get rid of them, or politically you can't afford to get rid of them, financially or politically, or do they stay? Do they rebound? And our 3 contenders this year are Bill Belichick, North Carolina, Mike Norvell, Florida State, and Dabo Swinney at Clemson. Let's throw Dabo in there. A lot of money being paid to these 3 gentlemen. A lot of big names. None entering the season with at least one of them's got a great track record in college. One's got a great track record in the pros. One is had a great season and is reeling, but is owed a lot of money. Ryan McGee, let's start with you. On December 1st, who's getting fired and who? I'll put it this way: let's just go one by one. December 1st, is Bill Belichick the head coach at North Carolina?
No. I think that
expand. It's a podcast, so you can.
Yeah,
expand.
no. I don't think that it's a. I don't know that he'll be fired, but I think my question about Bill Belichick, and this was before we knew who his girlfriend was, and this is before we knew that his general manager had made everyone mad, and this is before we knew any of these things. My question about Bill Belichick, I wrote it the week he was hired, is how long will he do this before he decides it isn't worth it? Because, forget all that other stuff. Just the hassle of being a college football coach is why people who have made their entire lives being college football coaches are retiring early and quitting and going to the beach, right? It's why the greatest college football coach of all time is on the road with Pete every week, right? There's a point where you're just like, I'm good. This is too big of a pain in the butt. And Bill Belichick is learning that certainly at a faster rate and a more intense rate than I think anyone even predicted because of all the other stuff. But he's not enjoying himself. Like there's nothing about this, and he's never one who's outwardly looked like he's having fun even when he's winning Super Bowls. But there's nothing fun about this. Like there's no, like what's the, was the goal here to tack on to a legacy? Was the goal here to prove that you can win at the college level? Was the goal here to set your son up for success in the long term? What was the goal here? Whatever those goals were, none of them are being met. And he just looks miserable. Everyone in Chapel Hill is miserable as hell right now. They are. Alums, people that work there, and certainly Bill Belichick. So yes, I say that I don't know that he will be fired, but I think that he will have departed the job, either told to leave, or he would just say, you know what, I'm taking my girlfriend and going to the Cape.
He would go to Nantucket, not the
Nantucket.
Cape.
Yeah, well,
just to be
close
clear.
enough.
He's too good for the Cape. Pete goes to the Cape.
Well, everybody thinks that North and South Carolina are the same thing. Yeah. The Northeast, they just call it Carolina. So I just call everything everything in the Northeast, I just call it the Cape.
And Belichick is not on any ferry. He's not on the ferry. No, not with Pete.
I don't think he's taking the High Line from Hyannis.
No,
I don't think that's. I don't think that's happening.
In.
So philosophically, well, first of all, this whole Bill Belichick thing has been fascinating, right? It's been the thing we can't stop watching and the thing that can't stop self-inflicting wounds. So to start, he went like portal crazy, brought in 40 guys last year. He kind of hinted at ACC media days. Everything was picked over by the time he got there in terms of recruiting. So in those, they failed at that, right? Simply put, like they had no players drafted. They went 4-8. They were not a fun team to watch. The offense was a disaster. The skill set of the quarterback, Gio Lopez, didn't fit the system Freddie Kitchens ran. It was a series of bad marriages all across. So this year, going to 2026, they brought in 40 freshmen. And when your coach is in his mid-70s and you have been hired to win now, right? UNC isn't paying him $10 million a year and ratcheted their budget and gone through all kinds of political infighting and endured a lot of bad headlines to like build it like it was 1995, right? And that's what you're doing. If you bring in 40 freshmen, you are doing like, now there's no more redshirting, but you are doing the let's bring in good players and help them grow and develop. And that I don't think is what UNC signed up for. And that's a tricky thing in the modern paradigm to do because a lot of those good players could just go elsewhere and get plucked by SEC schools or Big Ten schools, etc. So how he's building this doesn't seem to fit with the timeline of why he was hired, nor the timeline of how long he's going to stay. Because if you bring 40 freshmen, most of them aren't going to contribute significantly for at least 2 years. So it's a little bit perplexing as we move forward here. Now, I will say this. They will be better on offense. Now, they couldn't be much worse, first of all. Bobby Petrino is going to move the ball, right? Like death taxes, and Bobby Petrino is going to script it up right. Like for all his flaws, and there are many, and they've been noted on many podcasts Dan and I have done, Bobby Petrino is going to move the ball, and they will at least be functional. So it wouldn't surprise me if they end up as a bowl team, right? Just for that reason. Now, their defensive coordinator, as we speak today, is out on a health leave. We don't have any details on that and how that's going to go. And Steve Belichick at Washington and in the NFL was considered a good defensive coordinator. So there are myriad headwinds to this experiment right now. We haven't mentioned Mike Lombardi yet, who was the architect of last year's 4-8 roster, put the strategy together this year. He has been put on paid administrative leave. There are very few people who expect him to continue to be employed by UNC. That is obviously just a huge, huge detriment to what Bill Belichick is building, that the right-hand person he tabbed seconds after getting hiring there is seemingly not going to survive. I think it would be shocking to everybody involved there if there was somehow a path back for Mike Lombardi. So I think Bill Belichick at the end of the season, no matter how it goes, is going to have to sit back and say, do I want to keep doing this? And I think UNC is going to have to sit back at some point and say, do I keep doing this? As compared to the other buyouts we're going to talk about today, his is very tenable. It's $10 million. Now, 10 years ago, I'd be like, oh my God, $10 million in dead money. Now it's like $10 million. I got that in my in a shoebox in my closet. 10 million is not much at all. So that's where it is right now with Bill Belichick. The path to success appears very narrow.
So to recap, Bobby Petrino is the stabilizing force.
Yeah.
So, okay, awesome. That's that's all you need to know right now.
He's going to move the ball, Ryan. He's going to move the ball with Billy Edwards, who I think you might have been in school when Billy Edwards was in school.
Yeah.
He gets the Kyle Whittingham Adult in the Room Award for that. To tell you how things are going. I think Belichick, he had this plan that he talked himself into. I'm a really good football coach. I teach the game well, which is true. And we're going to go to college and surround myself with family and friends. And this is going to work. I mean, he had Steve Belichick, Brian Belichick working there. Mike Lombardi obviously is one of his friends, he likes Lombardi. A lot of people don't. I don't know. I don't have a Lombardi
that became
problem.
Apparent after he got suspended. That a lot of people
were quite pleased to say how much they hate Mike Lombardi. And
there was really there was a line that formed for that.
Yeah, he's had mixed results in the friendship department. Let's put it that way. It's not Mike Lombardi's son was there, Matt Lombardi. There was former Patriots assistants. There was like old Freddie Kitchens was, right? All these guys. And then I think Jordan gets a lot of attention because she wants it. But in fairness, like there's tons of coaches' wives and in Petrino's bit, girlfriends that, sometimes no, but the coaches' wives are always around the program. It wasn't like Miss Sally, Mac Brown. Sally Brown wasn't there all the time also, right? He would talk about Sally says we got to beat Duke this week.
Dan, Sally and I are just so pleased you came to visit us here in Chapel Hill. Sally and I just couldn't be happier.
Sally and I are real excited about the run game. Miss Terry, I mean, literally everyone knows who I'm talking about. Like the coaches' wives and girlfriends are around a lot, but they just don't normally, they're not this young or whatever. So there's a little bit of that, but I think he just thought, hey, this will be fun, right? Bring everyone, who wouldn't want to do this, right? Have the kids around, have the grandkids around, the whole thing. And Lombardi, in particular, and Belichick, it just the roster they built was terrible. I mean, there's a terrible roster last year.
And this is also a reminder: this is still college football. Like in the college campus, and I grew up on a college campus, right? I grew up on college campus. It is a unique, like biosphere. Like there's nowhere else that's like it. And yes, I understand that college football now is more of a business, and everybody is this obsession with it being, the NFL AAA affiliate, which drives me crazy because all everybody talks about is, well, the NFL does this, we should do that. NFL, okay, not really, but at the end of the day, this is a reminder. It's still a college campus. It's still college football. It's not the Browns. It's not the Patriots. It's not just give me it is. You can say you want to run it like a professional franchise, but at the end of the day, you're still dealing with 19-year-olds, and you're still on a college campus where there are expectation levels of what you do and where you fit. And all that stuff still exists. It's different than it was. There's no question about it, but it is still, it's interesting to me, isn't it? I remember CFP 150, we did an entire television show about college coaches failing at the NFL level. And the NFL people just relish in it. Like they loved watching Steve Spurrier fail, right? They loved watching Rich McKay fail for years and years. They love watching this. And isn't it interesting because I'm trying to come up with the time when an NFL coach came down to college, as they like to say, and they suddenly just started crushing everybody. I mean,
Pete Carroll?
Yeah. Kind of
Carroll
and
Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh had a nice little run at Stanford.
Yeah.
He had a moment.
Had a moment.
1 year, actually
right.
Well, couple years.
And then it started driving him crazy because he's had to deal with these other things, and it wasn't what it is now. And so it's just interesting to me, but it is a reminder that yes, Mike Lombardi, he came on Marty McGee a couple times, went on and on and on and on and on about the NFL 33rd team, and we're going to run like I get all that, but it's still a college campus. And so it's just a reminder that you still have to adhere to that. And so you're going to bring all your buddies down and we're just going to run it like Patriots Light. That's not how it works. And it's certainly not how it works now. Even though everybody thinks that this is just professional football now. It's not. I mean, it is more than it was, but it is not the NFL.
There was a moment, it was last year, and he has signed, North Carolina's gone hard on the high school kids, and they got a kid named CJ Sadler, who was an excellent recruit out of Detroit Cass Tech, cornerback, and could have gone to any Big Ten school, probably could have gone anywhere in the country. And he chose North Carolina. And I remember he had a quote, and I've just looked it up here, on why he decided to go from Detroit, not Ohio State, not Michigan, not Notre Dame, not anywhere else, North Carolina. He said, with Coach Bill Belichick coming, it was a no-brainer for real. We all know who Coach Bill Belichick is, the type of knowledge he's got, the type of dude he is. When I went down there and was talking to Coach Belichick, I let him know I want to play both ways. How can you use me? It goes on and on. I've got to work like a pro, move like a pro, do anything like a pro, and I feel North Carolina to be the best part. I remember when he made that commitment, I was like, wow, this plan could conceivably work if you get a whole bunch of guys like CJ Sadler, and he might be right, that I'm trying to get to the NFL, and this is the guy, this is the best. And unfortunately, they have not yet gotten to many. CJ's gone out on an island here. And in concept, it should have worked, but they picked the wrong players. They didn't get it done, or not, whatever has happened. And that's what's left Belichick in this really tough spot where he doesn't have the talent to. It doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. It doesn't matter how well you teach. He could turn C.J. Sadler into a pro, but he's still an 18, 19-year-old kid, and you only got a couple of them. So, how does this end? And I think to your point, Ryan, if they get to 6-6, it would be an incredible season. They're very likely to start 1-3 with TCU and Ireland. They got Clemson and North Carolina, Notre Dame coming. Does he have the appetite for that work? And I don't know.
No, I don't think. And now he's lost his running buddy. Now he's lost the one guy who could walk into his office and shut the door and go, "What the hell are we even doing here?" And now that guy's gone. And so I don't know. This felt like this is where it was always going to go. One day he's just going to say, "I don't want to deal with this anymore," and you certainly can get to that conclusion a lot faster when 6-6 and playing in a bowl game on December 27th is the ceiling. Like that, if that's what your goal is, what are you doing at this stage in your life? And it was supposed to be fun, right? The whole point of doing this for him was going to be fun. And there's been zero. It's remember the Titans, right? Zero fun, sir. That's what it's been so far.
It's not fun, Ryan, is their schedule.
Yep.
As schedule equity goes, they got a bad draw here. TCU and Ireland, we obviously all remember TCU steamrolling them. I think that game will be closer this year, but I think they're a touchdown underdog. They got East Tennessee at home after a bye. At Clemson, you'll be, double-digit underdog likely at that point. Home Notre Dame, close to a double-digit underdog. At Pitt, you're an underdog. Yep. At Duke, right now you're an underdog. Syracuse at home, you should be favored. Pick-a-mish game. Miami at home, double-digit underdog. At UConn, now who knows who they are at that point, but that is not a gimme game. Nope. All right? That simply put, Duke lost there last year.
In the ACC. Yeah. They should have won the ACC last year.
Yes. Yeah, no, they have certainly fared well against the ACC. Yeah. Louisville at home, you will be a significant underdog. At Virginia, you will be an underdog. And then NC State at home as they take the McGee Forge to an undefeated season. So it's hard to find 5 wins on that schedule. Like, it would have to be some of Bill Belichick's best work for North Carolina to get to an improved season of 5 wins. And that's where the questions come existentially for both UNC and the Belichick camp. Is this what we signed up for? And in an effort to get ahead, and UNC hired him not just to get ahead on the field, but they wanted to get ahead in realignment, right? It was a statement hire to say, we are committed to football. Look at us, SEC and Big Ten. We want to play with the big boys. And they certainly got attention from it. And right now, that's all they've gotten is attention. And the quality of attention has certainly been mixed. But if Bill Belichick can win 7 games in that meat grinder with a young, inexperienced roster with not a lot of proven players, it will be some of his finest work.
On Selection Sunday 2023, Florida State was 13-0. Did not get picked for the playoff, mainly due to injury to their quarterback. About a month later, Nick Saban retired, and a very obvious choice for Alabama to go and take was no less than Mike Norvell. He instead stayed at Florida State, signed a huge deal. Since then, 7-17, and tons of questions going in. FSU, when they win, I always sit back and go, yeah, of course, they got everything. What a school, what a place, what a fan base, all everything you want. Then when it falls apart, I also sometimes go, yeah, that makes sense. It's distant. They can't get out of there one way. This, that. It's a conundrum, and they've been battling it since the epic Bobby Bowden run of a whole different era. He's owed a lot of money. He needs to win or that money becomes, I guess, does it become a good deal? Pete, is December 1st. Is Mike Norvell the head coach, and is it because he's fired or because he says, boy, I think I'm going to take another job, or is it because they did well enough that he got to stay?
Well, Dan, I will give you 49.6 million reasons why he's not going to take another job. Right? That's what the buyout would be on December 1st, in my understanding of the reading of the contract. 49.6 million. Now, we saw Penn State, James Franklin's number, I believe, had a 49 in front of it when he was fired, and we wrote it at the time as the second biggest buyout. Now, that all has gotten mitigated to the ground. It is not nothing, but boy, it's not anywhere near that because James Franklin went and got another high-paying job, right? And there were some negotiations with Penn State through all that stuff, et cetera. And it ended up Penn State financially being fine on the other side of it. Penn State also flush with cash. Florida State broke, and Florida State finds itself at this crossroads again post Bowden because for basically a generation they failed to exploit fully the Bowden era. They obviously flashed with Jimbo there. But the investment in program, the investment in stadium, the investment in facilities, like they just opened a facility. They're 20 years behind, right? Like they're 20 years behind. So Florida State got fat and happy. We saw that happen to Florida a little bit, Ryan, right? In the wake of the Tebow era with all that stuff. Like it is not uncommon to think the wins will keep coming and not have the infrastructure and investment put into place. Look, Mike Norvell generally, has had like an outstanding season there at Florida State. When you look back and through a cruel, conflicts of fate, didn't end up making the playoff. And I really feel like if you really want to draw like where did it all go wrong, I vividly remember reporting this out for College Game Day, standing in the Rose Bowl, like in the pre-dawn darkness, which is just like a weird like place to do your job. Sometimes when no one's there, we're taping College Game Day, and Cam Ward's college decision is coming down the pike, and it's going to be Miami or Florida State. The thought at the time was he preferred Florida State. Remember, they were hot. Miami wasn't yet. Miami couldn't figure it out on offense, and ultimately, Florida State didn't pony up for the full amount for Cam Ward. Now, whose decision was that? Was that administrative? Was that the cap guy? No one will know, and that will forever retell in history. But I do think like when they're doing like a 30 for 30 on all this stuff, say Florida State comes back and they say, where did it turn wrong? And then obviously going to get DJ Uiagalelei was a mistake. DJ Uiagalelei, God bless him, did his best work with Jonathan Smith at Oregon State. It didn't work there. They had seen him in the league, and they basically, through some version of cost discipline, said, nope, we're not going to pony up. Because remember, Cam Ward actually declared to go pro for like a week as, essentially in retrospect, looked like leverage play to come back and squeeze more money. And I just wonder how history would be different if Cam Ward went to Florida State. But now Florida State has a bill it can't afford. Could Mike Norvell go get another power conference head coaching job like James Franklin did? I would say at this moment, if he's fired December 1st, that would be unlikely. It could happen. He could go be an OC and make some money, but Florida State would likely be on the hook for a big chunk of that cash. And that is something where, as they're swimming in debt right now and trying to figure things out financially, would be very, very difficult. But the other side of this is Florida State really wants to get to the other side of the river. We talked about Carolina hiring Belichick. Florida State took their cause to court. Like they want to leave the ACC so badly they sued them. Correct? So can you afford to be bad? Because everybody's laughing at you right now. You just sued the league and then won 2 games and then, flopped last year. So it's administratively, they've pulled every wrong lever at Florida State.
Yeah, isn't it interesting because it's this obsession with leaving, and North Carolina gets Belichick to try to make a statement because they're trying to prepare to leave with their Thelma and Louise buddy Virginia, and now they can't get out of their own way, and Florida State and Clemson we're better than y'all, and haven't won any game of significance since all that started. And what's interesting with Norvell is at least I forget, it's really been a play in 3 acts because, you've had these 2 bad years of 2-10 and 5-7. And then you had the 2 great years of 10-3 and 13-1. But I always forget there were 2 bad years before that. I forget he's been there 6 years now. This will be his 7th season, but 2020 was a wash for everyone. But they were 3-6, and in 2021 they were 5-7, and people were already getting very antsy about him before they went on that double-digit back-to-back wins. But there's kind of when you look at the bigger picture, it's 6 years with 4 bad years. And then 2 in the middle. And to me, it kind of goes to, and in no way, shape, or form am I saying Notre Dame is going to completely fall apart. They're not going to. They're set for the next decade. But how do you handle it when you're snubbed? And Florida State, I mean, from the grandstands all the way to the chancellor's office, they handled that very poorly, and in my mind, haven't recovered from it since. So no, the question is, where it's kind of like Florida State. What I always said about Florida State and Clemson when they're acting like they want to leave is, well, where are you going to go? Because I don't know that anyone in Birmingham actually wants you. And so my question is, if you're Norvell, where are you going to go? And I will say this, he looked like a much happier person when he was in Memphis. I don't ever remember him looking like his underwear was 6 sizes too small when he was in Memphis, and he looks like that every single day of his life at Florida State.
6 is a lot of sizes.
There's a lot of sizes. It's very uncomfortable.
That'd basically be like me wearing Teddy's underwear.
It'd be like me when I was in college and I did laundry for the first time, and everything looked like Ken's clothes from the Barbie collection. Well, this is what I'm wearing to class. That's all I got. Yep. Oh yeah.
And I thought mentioning Kiss, Marry, Kill was going to be the most awkward part of this podcast, but that lasted all of 20 minutes.
We did do a full farting segment in the second part of the Big Ten podcast.
Pete did mention farting in church at one point earlier in the show. So yeah.
Yes. Farting in the Basilica, actually, if you really want to.
By the way, just stick to the whole show because we're just getting started here. Just getting started. Clemson and FSU, everyone at FSU says, do you think we'd be suing if we didn't have a place to go? And then you ask around, and man, I ain't heard anybody say, oh, yeah, we're going to take them. But hey, what do I know?
When that question comes up, Dan, people delight in how little interest they have in Florida State. It's not even we'd see. It's like, those guys.
Yeah.
We want to bring that, we want to bring somebody who's going to march to the courthouse and sue us. Do we want to bring another problem in? So,
that occasionally has a good season.
Yes.
I love Florida State as a school and a community and a fan base, but it's not it's not Texas and Oklahoma saying, why don't we see if anyone's interested in us? You're going to have my 2 favorite parts of all of this, and it all ties together. I agree. Norvell will either be fired or he'll earn another year, or I don't know what, but was when they sued the ACC over the grant of rights language, and it became very like Bill Clinton, what's the definition of is? It was like irrevocably and exclusively grant to the conference your media rights. It's like, well, what's a conference if we leave? Is that still the conference? Like, it's like, oh my God, like we're not really trying this. And then to placate them, they created the Success Initiative, where you keep your money in the playoffs, and Clemson and Florida State had to watch Miami take $20 million last year. Good idea, guys. Great plan. Way to enrich.
Didn't Georgia Tech end up higher than them too? Like Georgia Tech has done well with that.
Yeah.
Because 2 years ago they had the Ireland game, and then the Georgia games.
Now FSU still gets the TV draws.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different stuff, but I understand. But the fact Miami's just like, great, thanks, dude. Like, appreciate you guys. Now we're going to buy a Darian Mensah with our $20 million, and guess what's going to happen? All right, Dabo Swinney, 2 national titles, unbelievable. One of the greatest coaches in college football history. What he did at a school that seemed to just always go 6-5 and have a great time at the tailgate, and turn him into an absolute juggernaut, help lift the profile of the school. I think it's like 14, 10-win seasons. The one thing, Dabo, like he opens ACC Media Day and lists off his resume still. Like he's still that guy. He's like, we've had more 11-win seasons than anyone but this team. We've done this. He's still trying to pump it up. But they did make the playoff 2 years ago, but barely, and they didn't really do a whole lot out of Texas. 7-6 last year. I got a friend, son was a freshman last year at Clemson. It's a great school. We went there because of the school and the whole community and all that. But I said, how'd it go? He says, well, I wasn't too happy with he was expecting a little more out of the football team. I'm like, might want to don't expect those 14-0 seasons to come back necessarily, or 15-0. You can't fire Dabo Swinney, nor should you want to. I think it's admirable the way he runs his program. I love that he sticks with the guys that he goes in and promises playing time. You would want your program run like Dabo Swinney, but nobody wants to go 7-6. And if there's another season that goes like this, last year had so much talent and so much hype and it fell apart. Dabo Swinney, December 1st, where is he? Ryan?
I think he's sitting right there in upstate South Carolina. Yeah, I don't think that's going anywhere. It's I don't know that the team will be much improved, but it's also kind of one of those where they all love him so much, and they do. You know, there's always movement about wanting to get him out of there, and all this thing, but they love him so much they want it to work. And so, you know, you're still winning enough. You were, you know, again, were in the playoff, were in the ACC championship. You did all those things. And so the question is, how close does it feel like you might be? But I dig it just because it's now I'm a press conference junkie. Like I will 100% go back and watch old press conferences all the time. But I live for the mid-season now. If you want to win, if you want to stop winning, get another coach. That's great because he's not worried about it at all. And so, I mean, this is a guy who was painting houses and desperately became, you know, a commercial real estate agent out of his garage. So he already has more money than he ever expected to have in his life. And, you know, he and his mom used to sleep in the same bed when he was a teenager. I mean, this is all gravy to him at this point. And so he wants to win so badly. But I'm hoping that they lose one early just so we get the press conference.
Tyler from Spartanburg.
Yeah. Tyler. So Dabo Swinney is not on the hot seat, Dan. Let's just be clear about that. He's one of two active coaches.
It's more, would he leave?
Yes. Yeah, he's one of two active coaches who has won 2 national titles. He would be owed $57 million in the long shot that he gets fired, and he's not going to get fired. So we're a long way from the hot seat conversation, but we are in the throes of the very common conundrum at these schools that flash of a guy who has built the success and has now unable to sustain it. He did sustain it for a while. I want to be clear about that. 15 to 19 were as good a years as anybody's had in college football this generation. But he's now not living up to the standard he reset, I guess is the way I would articulate it. So what do you do with someone who's doing that? Well, you know, they have let him go, right? He has had rope. He has managed the roster, managed the portal, you know, done things. There's been slight adjustments and there's been some things, but even bringing Chad Morris back as the OC is something where you're letting Dabo lean into the familiar. Like he's the one leading the charge on that hire, right? His fingerprints are still all over everything. And look, if that hire works and they're starting to move the ball like they did in the early 20 teens, like God bless them. You know, Chad Morris had a great run as an offensive coordinator at Clemson. Nobody's going to question that till he left for SMU. You know, is further evolution required has been the looming question over them for a while. And I think there's skepticism that like there's been enough evolution, but we will see. And you and I will find out, Ryan, in a steamy afternoon in Baton Rouge in early September.
Yeah.
Because boy, what a smack in the face opener that is if you're not ready. Right. Yeah. Like, boy, what is because Lane Kiffin has not had a lot of headwinds to the portal. Right? Like they have been ready to spend it. To be clear, administratively, Clemson hasn't been reticent to dive into this era.
Yep.
So it will be fascinating. Do we see Tate Reynolds that day? Like, is he really the future? Or is Christopher Vazina, who's waited his turn and developed, is he the right guy? Are we going to see Clemson's offense with more of an identity, more of a tempo? They still have very good players. And the probably the concerning part is that the sum was not greater than the parts last year, especially on defense. And that is something that you did not often say about Dabo's teams.
Yeah, and it's it really is fascinating, and it is a case of also kind of getting a little spoiled rotten. It's funny, we're sitting there talking, and I'm looking at the numbers, and we talk about 2024 as kind of being a mess, but the reality is they did make the playoff. They won 10 games. They only twice, not to be like Dabo at the press conference, but only twice since 2010 have they failed to win 10 games. And 2 years ago, they won 9. So they're still there. The question is, how close there actually is. And the reality too is, Cade Klubnik wasn't what they thought he was going to be. And they are as good as their quarterback. And they went on during their run. They went on a run of ridiculously talented quarterbacks. I mean, going back to Taj Boyd, right? I mean, it was one after the other, and right now that's just not what they've had. And so maybe they're still just one quarterback away. But yeah, he won't. December 1st, he'll still have his office that he moved into after Tommy Bow was let go.
I think they'll be pretty good, and he's been a victim of his own success. There's no question. And expectations. He demands. The thing is, to his credit, he demands perfection, excellence. He's always sat there and said, "Why not Clemson? Little old Clemson. We don't have to take a back seat to anyone," and that's how he built it. He would go in and say, "I'm going to recruit right up against Florida State. I'm going to beat you for recruits. We're going to beat you." And that's his thing. So a little bit of that is
I would predict, by the way, that he will have a lot of fans around the nation that first game, guys, when they do have the Battle of Death Valleys down there in Baton Rouge, because there's going to be a lot of people rooting against the other guy. They don't care who he's playing.
Yeah, certainly change it. All right. There's a very interesting story out of Virginia Tech. James Franklin, who went through a lot of this last year, where even though he had this high-profile team at Penn State, no one was quite happy enough with him, even though he'd won a ton of games at Penn State, done a ton of great work, made the semifinals of the college football playoff, and then a year later, he doesn't make it till, what was that, mid-October? He was out by mid-October, pretty early. He is now at Virginia Tech, brought a ton of guys from Penn State, got a great momentum going, recruiting, energy, exposure, the whole thing. Pete, thoughts on what can be accomplished by James Franklin in season 1 for Virginia Tech and how important this is for the ACC?
Well, it's huge for the ACC, Dan, because Virginia Tech was kind of Clemson before Clemson, right? They did not win the national title, but they were consistent, stalwart, top 10, same recruiting footprint, in some ways really did an unbelievable job mining talent, developing talent under Frank Beamer. And since Frank Beamer left, not shockingly, they weren't particularly good before him, and they haven't been particularly good since. And so what James Franklin does is he brings a professionalism of recruiting, of program building. You look at Ethan Grunkmeyer, who quietly, as Penn State sort of sputtered to the end, proved to be a pretty solid quarterback option and really had some nice moments for Penn State last year. Talent is upgraded, like Luke Reynolds, the tight end, for example, who they brought from Penn State, is a draft pick, real guy, high end guy. So I think it's a solid staff. It's a lot of James Franklin, like leaning into the familiar, especially with Brent Pry as the as the DC hire. But there's a thought that the floor of Virginia Tech goes up significantly.
I think he does his best work in these situations. Like you think about, we and rightfully so gave Clark Lee all the credit in the world and continue to give him all the credit in the world for what he's done at Vanderbilt. But James Franklin did it, 15 years ago. And and he does his best work, I think, when he walked into Penn State. Man, they were working from behind. And yeah, they struggled. We all know the stats against top 10 teams or whatever, but the reality is, they were a play away maybe from playing for a national championship. They were a play away from, to me, they were what, a fourth down play against Oregon away from having a much different season in 2025, early in the year. And so to me, James Franklin does his best work when he's in this situation. And you mentioned Brent Pry, the fact that guy has just moved down the hallway. That's how much they love it. It's a really, really unique place. I think college football is way more interesting when Virginia Tech is relevant, when they're in the conversation, as opposed to losing seasons like 6 out of the last 7 years. But yeah, good at quarterback, really good in the backfield. I like Marcellus Hawkins. For folks who don't know the name, Bill Davis. He was playing for the Raging Cajuns the last couple of years and ran for more than 1,500 yards. Dude weighs 230 pounds. I mean, they have a chance to move the football. And again, I like James Franklin. I always have. Talking to him is always a money interview as a writer. And I've only talked to him one time since he got to Blacksburg, and that was when around ACC Media Days. And there's an energy level for him that you can kind of tell. And he's one that will let you know. Like he's not a blow smoke coach. Like if he thinks they're going to struggle, he'll tell you. If he thinks they're going to be good, he'll tell you. And he thinks this team has a chance to, probably not good enough to win the ACC, but he thinks they have a chance to ruin the season for a lot of other people. And but again, college football is better off when Clemson and Virginia Tech are relevant. And it certainly is in the ACC's best interest that two big brand names actually act like big brand names again.
All right. Through first part of this podcast, second part of this podcast, we have discussed many of the teams, the majority of the teams, the preponderance of the teams in the ACC, but getting to all of them is virtually impossible. So let's try to, throw some little bit of shine on the other schools we haven't mentioned, if you can remember. What is a good storyline from some of the teams that maybe aren't expected to have big seasons, and can they? Where do you see a sense of optimism or a great player or something interesting, so that we're not all doom and gloom here? Pete?
I'm going to start with Cal. I thought we were going to pick sleepers, and Cal was going to be my sleeper. So I was ready to pounce on the Golden Bears. Conversation obviously starts with Jaron Kiawe Sagapulatele, JKS, as you'll call him exclusively, Dan, I'm sure. He is a sophomore quarterback. Jeff Brom very casually at ACC Media Days in conversation was like, yeah, he could be the number one pick. And when Jeff Brom says that about a quarterback, you got to listen to Jeff Brom as he says about quarterback. Credit to Tosh Lapoy and Cal for keeping and securing him there. Remember, he committed to Oregon for about 2 weeks. I think he was with them in bowl practices and then bounced to Cal. It's a great decision by the kid to go get a year of starting experience. He is simply put one of the best young quarterbacking talents in all of college football. And the expectation is that he will continue to soar. They went and got Ian Strong, who was Rutgers' best receiver. Rutgers threw the ball a ton last year. And there are a bunch of familiar SEC names that were added from the portal. Tosh Lapoy, from his ties at Oregon and obviously a long time in the SEC footprint, really went out in an aggressive Saban-like personnel acquisition manner. I think Cal will be a team that is going to be a rugged, tough out and will make some significant noise this year.
So, we talked about, I was very vocal about NC State and CJ Bailey, which y'all have reminded me of repeatedly. And obviously we've talked about the hot mess that is Chapel Hill, but the other half of Tobacco Road fascinates me. Wake Forest won 9 games last year. With a first-year head coach. And so I think that maybe we're not giving them enough credit. Their schedule this year is much more difficult than it was a year ago. But then Duke, all Manny Diaz does is screw everything up for everyone, right? And now we're getting into year 3. A lot of success first couple of years. The question was, could he keep it running? Could he keep it rolling at all with Elko, and everybody packing up and leaving to go to Texas A&M? And the reality was, they won the ACC championship game last year, and people are quick to discount it, but they actually took care of their business. And so I look at the other half of Tobacco Road, and Duke and Wake Forest now are in that group. It's kind of like in the NFL where you have that group of 8-8 teams that are always 8-8. That's who they are. It's how they're always going to be. This is just me as a bitter Carolina Panthers fan is saying these things. But Duke and Wake Forest now have a new quarterback every year. Just how it's going to be. And they're talented quarterbacks, but they got them for a year, get what you can, and get on down the road. And that's kind of where both those schools are. So I don't think we gave enough credit to Wake Forest for winning 9 games. And I know we didn't give enough credit to Duke for winning the ACC championship. And so, again, to me, #GoACC is full of a lot of teams that aren't good enough to win the championship, but are certainly good enough to ruin it for someone else. And I'm saying all this about a team that last year I would have said that about in Duke, and they won the ACC championship. So it's those two teams fascinate me because they're kind of the modern. They are the perfect encapsulation of where most of college football programs live, which is, all right, we got these guys for a year, maybe two, and we have to get whatever we can get out of them. And last year, both those schools got a lot out of them.
I'm going to mention the Pitt Panthers, Pat Narduzzi's program. They are always going to have a say, as long as Narduzzi's there, in how the ACC plays out. They may not win it, but they're going to have a say in it. And they return Mason Heisel, who came in as a true freshman last year and had an excellent, showed a ton of flair and stuck with the program. I'm sure he had offers to leave. And they also have great work on both lines. They're returning a ton of guys on both lines. And it's just a Pat Narduzzi team. They're going to be kind of, not going to make a ton of noise. They're not going to get the attention, but, you're going to end up and they're going to have 8 or 9 wins or something like that. They have an interesting early schedule. They get UCF at home. They open with Miami, Ohio, UCF at home, then Syracuse, and then Bucknell. They could be 4-0. We talked about these ACC After Dark Friday night games at Virginia Tech, Friday night, October 2nd. Enter Sandman. That's gonna be a great game. And both those teams could be in really good shape. And that's one of those ladder games that could spring them, because then they got North Carolina at Boston College. Like 7-0 is not out of if they can get through that Virginia Tech game, they could be 7-0 playing at Miami. So never count Pitt out of this thing as long as Narduzzi's there. So I like that. Anything else we want to touch on that you guys have?
Well, I will say this. I'm so old, and I grew up in the Carolinas, that I was like, well, what's Maryland's deal? They're not an ACC.
They're looking good.
Like, hey, Maryland's got Virginia Tech at home on September 19th. Yeah, that heads up, McGee. That hasn't been an ACC game for a long, long time. But there's still a part of me that I keep expecting to see Rick Bodonick and Bobby Ross walk in there and play an ACC game.
A lot of Maryland fans still wish they were in the ACC too. I've never seen a fan base that's not they're just like, yeah, but for a lot of reasons.
Well, let's honor Dan, all of the fans here, and say welcome back, Steve Angeli, quarterback at Syracuse. They were in the middle of a generational thrashing of Clemson when his Achilles popped last year. He was one of the top 5 passers in the country. I think he's number 2 in the country in passing. Former Notre Dame transfer quarterback, back healthy, ready to let it rip for the Orange. He makes them really intriguing. Mason McKenzie will be Boston College's starting quarterback. He is a Saginaw transfer, Dan, up in your neighborhood, the D2s of Michigan. BC is hoping he is their Trinidad Chambliss. Trinidad played him, told me at SEC Media Days that Mason McKenzie is a baller and that he's rooting for him. A lot of change at Boston College. A lot of change. Then there's Stanford. Tavita Pritchard was the starting quarterback and at the time was the single greatest upset in the history of college football. On versus Stanford over USC. I'm sure you remember What's Your Deal, Man, Dan, right?
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh over Pete Carroll. Tavita Pritchard there picked last in the ACC. Davis Warren is going to be a quarterback, and they have a ways to go.
Jim Harbaugh making friends.
Yeah,
What's your deal? On versus. Come on.
It was on versus.
Come on, versus.
My favorite nugget about that game, it was on versus.
And by the way, how great is it watching Andrew Luck just ripping darts out there at practice? Like, nobody else's GM is out there, throwing perfect post patterns.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how long the answer would be if you tried to explain what Jim Harbaugh's deal is? Like,
if someone ever does a biography of him, What's Your Deal, Man, would be a great.
What's your deal, man?
Would be a great title.
You got a month? Yeah, it's the Odyssey.
Y'all get on that. I ain't writing that one.
I don't even know how to explain what his deal would be.
I don't think he can either.
I miss him. No, I don't think he could. No one wants to know. The man wants. Oh. Remember when his wife threw all his khakis out?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And then he went to the combine and showed up at a Meijer buying like 14 pairs of khakis.
Oh, yeah.
The chicken is a nervous bird, so we'd only eat
chicken
steak.
Is a nervous bird, but he told his quarterbacks do not eat chicken because it's a nervous bird. But then later he became a chicken he had chickens of his own, and he learned they weren't nervous.
I think it was the pinnacle of Jeff Darlington's career, wasn't it? When he broke the Lululemon khaki news, remember it was like pro day,
picture.
and Darlington's a fashionista, and he's like, these aren't Costco jeans? These aren't Walmart khakis?
Oh, no, those were
broke
right.
the news.
Right.
Yeah,
Lulu makes a nice pant. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that's what Jim said. A lot of pockets. Harbaugh is like a lot of. I couldn't ever get Harbaugh to tell me anything, and then he gave me the most nuanced answer about where he could put pins in his pockets in his Lulus. So there you go. While he's doing yoga stretches.
One of my favorite, and there are many. I missed Harbaugh, but when he got dinged for not being evasive with his answers to the NCAA for one of his scandals, and he no doubt probably was, but I was like, he's evasive in every answer.
Oh yeah, no, it was.
Coach, what do you think of the Penn State game this weekend? Competition between men.
No,
it's the greatest form of life. Okay.
ESPN the magazine. I did a story about his barber there in Ann Arbor because it was the same guy that cut his hair when he was a little boy when his dad was there, and now he took his little boys. And Harbaugh looks at me and says, "I don't know you. What's your angle here?" I'm like, "My angle is this is where you used to get your hair cut when you were a little young. But what's the angle? I don't understand what the angle is. The angle is where you get your damn haircut. I don't know what to tell you." And
the ethos of the
but
story.
it turned out to be it was a 2,000 word feature that turned out to be a great 200 word sidebar because I didn't have an angle, I guess.
No. Well, he's not coaching. Unfortunately, he's the NFL's joy. All right, I got to end with a people's court. We need a ruling out of the legal minds here. We can't just dissect football. We're some of the biggest, the most thoughtful thought leaders, geniuses in the country. And we got a situation. It is move into your dorm season. I know Ryan's moving. I got some dorm moving going on. Everyone has ever been to college. You move into your dorm. There's rules in the dorm, right? There are rules. No smoking or
loud music.
Loud music. Yeah, just different things. Got to have your meeting at the beginning. Maybe we'll look away for a Sun Cruiser, but that 4 kegs, maybe not. Whatever the rules are at your place.
It was Capri Sun when you. It was Zima. Dan, when you were at UMass,
there you go.
Right?
No, it was Bud Dry. Now I remember
Bud Dry.
in Tennessee we had I don't know if y'all at Tennessee we had the visiting hours. At Tennessee visitation hours, like the only time that the co-eds could get on the elevator was like certain hours on the weekends. I'm like, welcome to East Tennessee.
They didn't have that at UMass.
No, you did not. No, a lot of Southern Baptist preachers were running into things at our deal.
There was definitely a keg in my dorm room at one point or another. Yeah, that definitely happened. But, Cornell University, Ivy League, they have a new rules in their dorms after an incident last year, and we got to decide whether this is a good rule. So last September, couple guys from Cornell. This is the Ivy League, so this whole thing is fantastic. They went hunting, a couple hunters at Cornell, and they shot and killed a bear, a black bear. Okay, these are legal. They have the licenses. You're allowed to kill black bears. They did everything right. They brought the black bear back to their dorm. And in the common area, which is a kitchen, they decided to began carving up the bear for the meat.
Yep.
Cleaning the bear. Their plan to make black bear pastrami.
Okay. Yeah, you just went full Cornell. This felt very West Virginia, and all of a sudden it went full Cornell right there.
No. Hey, farm to dorm, like that's a thing, right? It's organic meat. This is good stuff, right? This is
how much blood would there have to be to gut a bear,
dude?
I can't even
gut a bear.
Fathom how much blood there would be.
There's a reason that my hunting. You talking to a guy who grew up in Eastern North Carolina. My hunting career ended at a young age just simply because of the amount of blood.
They straight up put a camouflage tarp down on the table and carved them. And if you want to know the picture, you can find it on Reddit. It's so bad on Reddit that it's viewed as NSFW. Yeah. I don't know why. It's bear. A bear.
Blood. Wolf.
So whatever. So they carve up the bear and then put the meat in the communal freezer. Now this is the Ivy League. Okay? Yeah. Maybe this would work at Maine Black Bears. I don't know. Like the other students were not impressed. One straight up called the cops, assuming this had to be not allowed. The police investigated, no charges because they had the hunting. Everything was legal according to state officials. However, a new rule has been placed. And I can just imagine this person. Like, imagine, you got a student, male or female, from Upper East Side of Manhattan. Dad runs a hedge fund. Their idea of outdoors was like, when the jet didn't take them to Nantucket and they had to ride the ferry time.
Going to Central Park. Right. That was
Central Park. And there's just these two good old boys are carving a bear on the dorm table there. So the students, no problems, but Cornell has changed its policy and said that you are no longer allowed to process wild game in residential kitchens on campus. This is now prohibited behavior in the Cornell dorms. Processing wild game. There are plenty of area. They point out there are places to do it. There are companies that'll do it. And spokeswoman for the university said, hey, we wanted to provide clarity regarding what is or is not appropriate to do in a communal kitchen space. Ryan McGee, is Cornell in the right here to change the policy, or should you be able to gut what you hunt?
Well, you should be able to gut what you hunt, but you should not be able to do that in communal areas, right? So you're not going to, imagine if somebody, shot a deer and they decide they're going to get the venison and they decide they're going to clean it on a table in the middle of of Terminal C at Charlotte Douglas Airport. You can't do that. You can't. This is an area you share with other people. And by the way, as I'm wearing our Tri-C Tops shirt, and the reason is because we didn't see it coming that they won the National Landscaping Championship. I would not have seen Andy Bernard's alma mater doing this at Cornell. I would have totally, again, at my alma mater at Tennessee, if I'm being honest with you, the late, great Grieve Hall, if I had come into the communal bathroom on the 4th floor and a bunch of dudes were cleaning a bear, I would have been like, okay. I wouldn't have thought anything of it. But at Cornell, I'm not sure that's what, So, yes, there should definitely be a rule.
Yeah, if you had to power rank most likely schools for this to happen at, Cornell would not have been in anybody's top 200 guesses, right? Yeah. There would have been most of them would have started with a direction, right? Like East Tennessee State.
Yeah, we're in the big sky on this deal.
Louisiana Lafayette,
right.
Montana State.
They seek a diversity in their student body. I mean, here it is.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
I went to school in upstate New York and spent plenty of time covering games at Cornell. Never saw a bear up there. Lived in Syracuse for 7 years, forward school, worked for the great local paper thereafter, and plenty of trips winding over to Ithaca, fine college town, by the way. Ithaca is gorgeous, as you see the bumper stickers. Would not have deer, sure, a lot of wild animal, but a bear in upstate in the 607, I believe, just would not be on my bingo card.
No.
So, that I think makes the story all the more delightful. If this was at one of our schools, Dan, that were in our meat judging contest, like a Stephen F. Austin, you'd be like, oh, okay, like sure.
North Dakota State. I would have bet North Dakota State. Yeah, but my daughter looked very seriously at Ithaca, and born and raised in the Carolinas. And I said, that's fine. I go, but we're not visiting Ithaca in June. We're visiting Ithaca in February because I want you to see what it's about. And if I had come to her with 8 feet of snow, and oh, by the way, there's some dudes cleaning a bear down the hallway, she probably would have ended up where she ended up.
I mean, people always say these Ivy League degrees, they don't provide real world, skills. Yeah. I mean, you give a man a black bear pastrami sandwich, he eats for a day. By the way, black bear pastrami, like that's, and that, like Katz's Deli, like, you eating black bear? You trying
it's
that?
It's not Boar's Head brand. It's, Dan, it's Boar's Behind.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's Bear's Head. Yeah.
Black bear pastrami.
Ugh.
I like pastrami, but I don't think I'm getting that at the deli. Just give me some honey turkey. Organic, I'm good. Like
organic meat. Anyway, all right, new rule. So if you're listening at Cornell, sorry,
clean up your act.
Sorry, guys.
When you're cleaning up the
clean
bear.
up your act.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that they actually looked at the rule book to make sure they could do it. It's very Ivy League nerdy in the article.
Yeah.
Like they were like, no, we checked. We were diligent about checking. So
don't say anything.
Yeah.
No, these are the future NIL attorneys. That's who these guys.
Right.
No question about
it. The best rules are the ones that no one thought they had to make.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we didn't put that down. I mean, Cornell's like, what, a couple hundred years old?
Oh, yeah.
You were the first. I mean, there's been some smart people come through there. You're the first ones to think, let's go hunt a black bear.
Remember DeMarcus?
Make some pastrami.
DeMarcus Cousins' famous line when Cornell played Kentucky in the Sweet 16 in the Carrier Dome. And a bunch of people were picking Cornell, I think including Jay Billis, and DeMarcus Cousins said, "This ain't no spelling bee."
Yeah.
One of the all-time, you're standing there in the locker room and you're like, "Yep, that's the one."
Yep. It's like when we tell our kids, you go into the public restroom and there's a thing that's like this says don't eat the hockey puck, the mint that's in the urinals, right? And I always tell my kid, you know what that means? That means at some point someone did that. Like that rule existed because someone, don't climb over the fence and jump into the Grand Canyon. You know what that means? Somebody did that. So now we got to make a rule. So yeah.
Yeah, I was using some of that Flex Seal, that thing they put on the you'll get in the boat and it'll be sinking and it'll put this Flex Seal. It's all great commercials. And it says not edible. I was like,
I mean somebody ate it. Yep. I mean somebody ate it. Yep.
Do not drink Flex Seal. Hey, thanks for the reminder. I was just thinking about putting it in my coffee. All right, that's our podcast. It's obviously we made it through 2 parts of the ACC. This is what an operation this is. Incredible. It's not easy.
We thought they might have to expand to get us to 2 episodes, but they didn't. So
anybody can do the SEC. Anyone can do the Big Ten. We did the ACC, man. We appreciate it. Make sure you listen every episode. Download your podcasts wherever you prefer to get podcasts. And better yet, subscribe so you can get all of this, including Cornell dormitory updates. We will talk to you later.